friends, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today under these, once again, unfortunate circumstances. It's Clausura. I'm coming to you again to discuss the dream team, the possibly one of the weirdest content families currently on the internet. Last time we kind of went over like a broad overview of the family, their controversies, and kind of what's currently going on. Today we're going to take like a deeper dive look into the family and their backgrounds. So before I get started, everything in this video is alleged. This is for entertainment purposes only. Let's get into it. The Dream Team family has the dad, Patrick Getchell, and then the mom, Teresa Getchell. So today we're gonna start with speaking about Teresa. So Teresa Getchell is the mom. She's about 46 years old, and she is from Haverhill, Massachusetts. Now, her family, they seem to be from Vermont and New Hampshire, but when I was studying this area of New England, and it's very rural, the New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, these states are kind of all clustered together in what we know in America and elsewhere as New England. Teresa's maiden name was Foley, and she has a mother who has passed away. Her dad is sort of unknown. I was not able to find her father, but she has a stepfather as well, and the stepfather passed away back in 2020, and her mother passed away back in 2015. Teresa has described her work history as mainly fast food as her occupation, and it appears that her mother, who again passed at the age of 63 in 2015, also spent her life working in food services. One of the examples was she worked at a Dunkin' Donuts in the area that they are from in Vermont. Teresa, although we were unable to find out who her biological father was, she did have a stepdad who was in the picture for 20 years. And again, he passed away in 2020. Teresa does have a brother who currently lives in New York. He is employment as a dishwasher in a very small town in upstate New York. When Teresa's stepfather passed away in 2020, it was interesting to note that in his obituary, there was no mention of Teresa, nor her brother, nor the grandchildren from Teresa and her brother. I just really want to emphasize how small the community is that Teresa and her family hail from. These are really small. Some of them were unincorporated villages. The whole entire county of where she is from in Vermont is called Caledonia County. The total population of that entire county is 30,233, and that's as of 2020. Teresa's brother is around 54 years old. Again, I couldn't find a lot of information about him, and of course, I want to respect all these people's privacy. I'm just kind of giving an overview of the family and how they all come together in this situation. He is around 55 years old, similar age to one of Patrick Getchell's older brothers, who also attended the same high school in Nashua, New Hampshire. I believe that Teresa's older brother and her only brother that I could find lived with his mother up until she passed away in 2012. From there, he moved from Vermont down to upstate New York. And again, this area of New England, all of these places, I'm saying all these different names of states, but they are all really close together. So it's not unheard of, especially when the towns are so rural that you might go to some different places for different opportunities. So like I said, I'm unsure of where or if Teresa went to high school. She likely would have gone to that Nassau, New Hampshire high school that her brother attended, being around the Getchels, who some of the brothers did attend that same high school based off of the public social media that I was able to find.
How did mom and dad meet? Okay, we met at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like, she was working, I was starting work, it was my first day of work, she was in drive-thru, she just gave me a big hi with a great big smile, and that was it. I fell in love with her from that moment on. And, like, 3 months later we were married.
Yeah.
Oh, swatting means they call 911, say there's a hostage situation, and the SWAT team comes.
That'll be funny. That'll be absolutely freaking hilarious.
I assure you there is no hostage situation.
I would.
In 2001, Teresa Foley, who then became Teresa Getchell, met Patrick Getchell when they were working together at a fast food restaurant. Now, based on their stories that they have told us from their TikTok lives, I was able to figure out that this was likely a McDonald's, again, in this really small town of Hillsborough. Now, Hillsborough is in New Hampshire. And again, these places are all really closely connected. And if you're in these small towns, you might want to drive somewhere else to find work where there is more opportunity. Teresa was working fast food, and as Patrick describes it, he came in one day and she had a big smile on her face and said hello, and he said that it was pretty much love at first sight. Now, Patrick allegedly was the supervisor at this fast food restaurant, and by his own admission, they got pregnant pretty quickly with Sarah in 2001, and then the minor son, Hunter, in 2010. So by my calculations, since Sarah's birthday is June 16th of 2002, Teresa would have been 2 to 3 months pregnant with Sarah when her and Patrick got married, meaning that they got pregnant with Sarah very quickly into them knowing each other. And they also then got married.
Hi guys, so we are actually going to be...
You guys are like missing me doing this math over here, trying to... All right, so Patrick and Teresa met in 2001 at the fast food restaurant that they're both working at. Teresa would have been 22 years old at this meeting, and Patrick would have been 19, which checks out because in their TikTok, they have said during the horrific head dunking challenge, I don't even know what you want to call that, Patrick did say that he was 19 when Sarah was born and he turned 20 a little bit shortly after.
1981?
Good. Sorry, just getting warmed up here. How old was I when you were born?
21?
I turned 21 a month later. I was 20 here.
Damn!
Teresa and Patrick got married when Teresa was about 2 to 3 months pregnant, so 2 to 3 months after meeting, and they continued to live in Hillsborough, New Hampshire until they moved down to Texas back in 2012. Teresa currently still works in fast food, and she currently allegedly works at overnight shift. I will say it was hard to find information about Teresa online. It doesn't seem like she has a huge social media presence, but it does appear that when they first moved down to Texas in 2012, 2013, she was involved with a church that had some women's groups and women's programs, and from the images I was able to find on the public internet, it looked like she was having fun and maybe meeting some girlfriends. So yet again, that was like 13 years ago. So things might have changed. All right, now we are gonna get to Patrick and his background. So Patrick was born in Woodsville, New Hampshire. He was born in 1981. So when he met Teresa, that would have made him 19. He married Teresa Getchell on November 14th, 2001. And again, if you do that math, with Sarah being born in June, that means that she would have been about 2 to 3 months pregnant when they got married. Patrick was the youngest son of his 3 brothers from his mother. His mother is still alive. She was originally from Massachusetts, again in that New England area. And the father of Patrick, his brother John, and his brother David is unknown, at least from what I could find online. There is a stepfather who has been in the picture for a number of years. I was able to find some information about him, but it's not super relevant to that. But he is also from that same New England area. And the mother of Patrick, so Sarah's grandmother, they also moved down to Texas around the same time. Patrick has 2 brothers. He has a brother David, and he has a brother John. David currently, or was most known to be living in New Hampshire, in Hillsborough, but it is alleged from my research that he has moved down to Texas to live with his mom and his stepdad. Patrick also has another brother. His name is John, and John is sort of transient, living off the land, and he has called home to California, Oregon, and New Hampshire, which makes sense because his criminal charges, which we will get into that in a little bit, his criminal charges are in California and Oregon. The other brother, also David, he also has criminal sex offense charges, and his are in New Hampshire. Whew! As far as I could see, I could not find a criminal record for Patrick, except there were a couple evictions that he has gone to court over. Patrick's oldest brother, named John Paul, he has a couple aliases. I'm not trying to be on his bad side because he has served time and seems kind of scary. He is about 52 years old, and he has, like I said, resided in California, Oregon, and New Hampshire. Here's where I'm going to put a trigger warning for SA, rape, CSA. Patrick's eldest brother has been charged with rape in the 1st degree, 3rd degree kidnapping, sexual abuse in the 1st degree. Looks like he was convicted in Oregon in 2003 of SA in the 2nd degree. He has also been charged with fleeing or escape, failure to report as an offender. That was back in 2008 and again in 2011. There was also a disorderly conduct charge back in 23, and I did see some more current domestic violence charges. And I will say that I also was able to find a wife of his, unsure if they are still married, but we will get into that a little bit later. So John did have a wife, and by looking at the math, it appears that he met her when she was around 18 years old. She and I are actually the same age. I don't want to put her name or anything like that out there, but I was able to find this on Al Gore's public internet. So do with that information what you will. I do believe that she is a victim, one who needs healing. So I do pray for her, and I really hope she's doing better. On her public Facebook page, she did allege that there were some threats made against her life, that she experienced domestic violence, and really that's horrible. And I really, really hope that she is doing better and in a safer place in her life. And with any of these family members I'm talking about that are, relatives to the Getchels or related to them via, marriage or community, please do not harass them. This is really about Patrick, Teresa, and Sarah, the dream team TikTok. So some Diet Coke, it's great. All right, so we're gonna move on to the other brother, Patrick's next brother. His name is David. He was born in 76. That would make him 49 years old. David appears to have been staying in New Hampshire, unlike his brother, not going out to the West Coast. I'm forgetting. John Getchell also went to Nashua High School in New Hampshire. That is the same high school that Teresa's brother attended. They're roughly the same age, so it would not be that shocking if that's another way that Teresa and Patrick and these two families may have known of each other or knew each other. Again, these are really, really small towns. And I want to emphasize this, all of the people in this story, I mean, these are real human beings with real lives. They're coming from a very rural area. The education system is not the best. They're lacking opportunities, and they are dealing with generational trauma as well as generational poverty. The middle brother in the Getchell gang, I suppose you could say, would be David. He was born in 1976, making him roughly 49 years old. He also has a lengthy criminal record, including felonious sexual assault, sexual contact, and the victim is under 13 years of age. Now, that is really horrible and traumatizing in and of itself. Unfortunately, both brothers' victims were under 13 years of age, and the other brother was under 15 years of age. This just, I mean, it's not okay. It's not okay, full stop. But it just kind of paints the picture of what we're dealing with here. This is generational, and quite possibly this could have been learned behavior from a traumatic upbringing.
Perfect example, they brought up my brother's convictions. Yes, my brothers were convicted as sex offenders. That's their problem, not mine. Okay, yes, I still talk to my brothers. They're my brothers. Hello. I mean, I don't condone their crimes, but you don't abandon family. They pay their price to society. Leave them alone.
So like I was saying, the middle brother, David, it appears like he has kind of stayed and spent most of his life in New Hampshire up until when the family did move down to Texas. It seems like they kind of all moved together at the same time, that being Teresa, Patrick, and the two children. And then Patrick's mother, stepdad, and in September of 2019, David was convicted of being a sex offender, accused of operating a children's ride at the Deerfield Fair, again in New Hampshire. This was available on public information, again on Al Gore's great internet, so you can go look that up yourself. I can also link it down below in my bibliography. Is that the word? Yeah. Okay, whatever. I messed that up. I apologize. It appears that David, the middle brother, moved down to Texas around the time of COVID. Next person I would like to talk about is Sarah. So that is the daughter of Patrick and Teresa, and she makes up the second half of the dad-daughter dream team, which is Patrick and Sarah, and their interesting father-daughter friendship, relationship, whatever you want to call it. Sarah Getchell was born on June 16th, 2002, and she was born in Hillsborough, Massachusetts. She was born to Patrick and Teresa Getchell. Patrick Getchell has kind of an interesting, you could say, employment history. Currently, he is the manager of operations at a store called Good Vapes, and you can find this information on the company's website. Previous jobs that he had include Top 40 e-liquids, where he was, I believe, selling vape juice out of the vape store. He also worked at Family Dollar, Best Buy, Dollar General, Whataburger, and Walmart. Patrick holds a Gulf Complex Operations degree from the Gulf Academy of America. Okay. Patrick, Teresa, Sarah, and the young boy Hunter moved to Texas in 2012. In 2012, that would have made Sarah about 10 years old, and the young boy Hunter would have been about 2, as he was born in 2010. When Patrick and Teresa moved down to Texas, it does seem like Teresa continued working in fast food, working at McDonald's and other fast food restaurants. And Patrick acquired many different jobs in the span of a few years. Looks like back in 2013, he was a cook at Whataburger. In 2013 to 2014, a manager at the Dollar General. Did a short stint at Best Buy in 2014 doing asset protection. No jobs were found in 2015. In 2016, he was working as an assistant manager at Family Dollar and then began working at the store Good Vapes in 2017. Now, there have allegedly on TikTok and on Reddit and on YouTube, there have been people who come forward and said that they either worked with Patrick at Good Vapes or that they were familiar with him because that's where they go buy their vapes from. None of that has been corroborated or verified, maybe is a better word. Throughout their time as a family, so since Teresa and Patrick got together in around 2001, they have shared that the family has really moved around a lot and changed up their living situations. They have previously talked about that they had times where they lived in their car, experiencing homelessness. They have multiple evictions on their records, both that I could find through public record searches on our holy internet, as well as by Patrick's own admission on their TikToks. They've kind of just embraced a very transient lifestyle, and I think that's another part of the reason that they took the kids out of school to pursue homeschooling. And I don't want to speculate on any kind of substance abuse or mental health issues. However, I will say that based on some of the information that I found on public social media posts, it does seem like there may have been some history with some family members of possible mental health struggles and substance abuse. Of course, these are things that are a byproduct of growing up in these circumstances. So I just want to acknowledge that can be really a problematic symptom of, growing up in a situation like that. Currently, the family has been living at the weekly or daily extended stay motel. So an extended stay motel can also be described as basically a lease-free apartment. But these aren't typical apartments like you would see in an apartment building. They really look like hotel rooms. So think about the amount of privacy you would have even in a nice suite in a hotel room. I mean, it's not going to be all that much. Often it's a studio with one bed, maybe two beds. The family has been living there for quite a while, and they have switched rooms a couple times by their own admission. They've also said that they've moved to different weekly or daily motels. Based on my research and based on where they live in public records and things that I found on Al Gore's internet, I don't believe they have switched completely the residences, just because that would be meaning they would be changing jobs a lot more frequently. And from everything I've seen, that hasn't really been the case. I will say that I did do some research on their current living situation, and the Google reviews were not great. People were talking about things like drugs, dead bodies, aliens, prostitution, just weird people, roaches, dog piss, dog doo-doo, and loose animals. It is also alleged that Patrick carries a gun, and based on my research and what I've seen with some extended family members, I believe that they are also very pro-gun. So again, this video is alleged and for entertainment purposes only. Do not come for me. It has been also alleged that in the hotel room there is only one bed. Now, this makes sense to me, sort of in a disgusting way, knowing that Teresa, the mother, works overnight and the night shift. Then it's kind of like she can sleep in the bed during the day when the kids are there doing their online homeschool. And Patrick is at work, which is kind of more like a 9 to 6, 9 to 5 retail type schedule. But there's allegedly only the one bed. And it has also been alleged that the minor's son does not have his own bed. Some people have speculated that they've seen blow-up air mattresses on the floor. I am not sure. I was not able to find those videos that would show that. It has been alleged by several people that have known Patrick IRL, and based on my research into his social media, that he has been known to be racist, homophobic, especially to Mexican Americans, which is horrible, especially considering our current political climate, which makes it doubly not okay. And they also live in Texas, closer to Mexico border. Okay, now this is the part of the video where we're going to talk about Sarah Getchell. So Sarah Getchell was born in Hillsborough, New Hampshire. She was born June 16th, 2002, making her 23 years old. Sarah loves to say that she was born on Father's Day, so she has been a daddy's girl from the jump, which in hindsight makes me want to throw up. I couldn't find a ton on Sarah's Facebook account, which is public, but I was able to find some information on her public Twitter. Sarah seems to have a real passion for aquatic animals. Now, Sarah has had a handle in the past called Future SeaWorld Trainer. Apparently, her dream before teaming up with her dad to make whatever kind of content it is that they make, her dream was to be a trainer of dolphins, whales, other aquatic life at the horrible, defamed, and suspicious SeaWorld in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay, so
this video bugged me. This person she's talking about what happens when the whales aren't performing, and she's showing a sky view of a pool with whales performing in the front area and whales in the back area. She was explaining how these whales, when they're not performing, they swim in circles with no food or no stimulation. All the trainers that work with those whales in that department are in the show performing with the other whales. These whales, before the shows even start, they get food, they play with the trainers, they get stimulation, they get hugs, they get kisses, they get plenty of stuff. It's just while the other whales are performing, the trainers can't be with those whales in the back because they're busy performing with the whales in the show. As soon as those trainers are done performing with those whales, they go back to the ones in the back and they give them food, they give them stimulation, they play with them. And by the way, this is a sky view. The video is a sky view of the pool. Do you realize how big that pool is? There's a lot of water, okay? There are over 3 million gallons of water, and over a football field long. So these whales are in no way losing any space. They have plenty of space to move around. Plenty of space. And they swim in circles because they choose to, not because they have to. There's plenty of room to go down to the bottom. There's plenty of room to jump up and swim like they normally do in the ocean. So it's because they choose to, not because they have to. Just please make sure you do your research before you make a video like this.
SeaWorld is not a great place, but due to Sarah's stunted education, she thinks that this is a really great job opportunity for her. Now, if you want to go work at SeaWorld with her level of training and skill set, it's possible she could get a job doing, concession stand, maybe popcorn, sell soda, something along those lines. In her worldview, she believes she can work her way from doing concession stand to becoming a trainer, a SeaWorld animal trainer. Unfortunately, that is not really how it works out, especially because you need to be scuba certified. I believe they are probably looking for someone who has a bachelor's degree in marine biology or some form of aquatic sciences, and I'm not even sure if she has completed her high school diploma or has a GED. When asked what her graduation date was alive a couple years ago, she was unable to remember when she graduated from high school, leaving some people watching it to think maybe she didn't graduate high school at all.
What years did you guys graduate school? Mine was 2000. I can't think back that far. I was 18 when I graduated.
Of 2000.
Patrick shaved. What up?
Well, that's a scary sight.
No!
Is this cold?
It also sounded like she spent a lot of time on YouTube, and while we love YouTube, it's not always the best source of education, and it really can't supplement for, going to college, going to high school, and getting those degrees. Due to the fact that Sarah spends 99% of her time with her family in this motel room, it was looking like she did not have a ton of outside social interaction. So Sarah started to develop some parasocial relationships online with different celebrities, different fans of similar interests to her, and most notably Jenna Frank, whose father was the late David Frank of the Green Power Rangers movies.
Just us and go do something. Anything. I just be so busy. Yeah. Just if I give you my number and then you give me yours, we can set up something whenever you're free. Sorry.
A couple years ago, Sarah was really fangirling hard for the band Big Time Rush. This was around 2021 to 2023. And I was able to find this information via a Google search that brought me to her public Twitter account, now known as X, owned by evil dictator and future wannabe king of the universe, Elon Musk. You know, like, we have to, like, put in some other stuff in here, otherwise, like, I'm gonna lose it. But I am trying to be very professional, so. Sarah was really obsessed with this band, Big Time Rush. Big Time Rush is not something I'm really familiar with. Sarah, I believe, is a Gen Z. I'm an older millennial, so Big Time Rush wasn't really something that was in my wheelhouse. But upon looking at their Twitter and their social media, it kind of seems like they were a boy band that was kind of popular with the teeny bop crowd. Something interesting to note, that when Sarah was fangirling so hard for the Big Time Rush, she would have been about 20 or 21 years old. Not to say there's anything wrong with having a fandom and loving a certain musical group, but this band seems to be more geared towards like girls who are maybe like 12, 13, 14. So, you know, it kind of would appear that Sarah's interests are a little bit more stunted due to her sheltered upbringing and, you know, the surroundings that she grows up in and lives in. For context, when I was 20 and 21, I was trying to get on the Girls Gone Wild bus and going out to the clubs wearing fabulous outfits of business casual. What a time to be alive. It really was. I got lost. So Sarah had this obsession with the band Big Time Rush. She would be tweeting at the members, saying she loves them, saying hi, thanking them for posting, and she was sending these tweets rapidly. There were a lot of them. She was also sending messages of support to other fans. There was one fan in particular, a young lady, who got to do a meet and greet with them, and Sarah became very attached or kind of latched on to this young lady who was roughly her same age, and kind of developed a parasocial relationship with this fan as well. And from what I saw on Twitter, it does look like she eventually like blocked her. It looks like there were some comments I repost on the tweet that were then removed, likely due to being blocked. This is something that will continue on. We'll see it with everything with the Jenna Frank situation, which we did discuss in my last video. So aside from really loving Big Time Rush, Sarah has some employment. She currently states that she is a stock shelf person. I was going to say a stalker, but I don't think that's the correct term. A stock person. So she puts the object onto a shelf at a grocery store. Previously, it has been alleged that Sarah used to work at a home improvement store, but Patrick, her father, sabotaged that job because he did not like her working around men. And he specifically did not like her working around Mexican men. Again, this is all allegedly from someone who knows the family IRL. You guys, I still have this much notes to get through. Okay, so now we're going to be getting into the drama, the current situation that includes the Literotica account that was found, Ariela Brigman, the writing, all of that. Something that really stuck out to me during Sarah's rant about the trolls and the haters and the suspicion that something inappropriate is going on between her father and herself is that she was making statements, questions like, why is my dad still free? Or saying things like, they don't have even enough evidence for anyone to actually start an investigation. Why would we need therapy when there is nothing wrong? Since when is not normal a crime? We may be weird and not normal, but there is literally nothing wrong except in the heads of most people on TikTok. That just proves how warped this whole world is, and it has nothing to do with us.
He isn't doing things. Second, I don't think it's concern at all, because if it was, then it would have stopped on the now 10 or more occasions when I've made a video specifically stating that nothing's going on and I'm fine. The problem is that you people are so afraid to be wrong that you come up with all these incredibly wrong excuses like, oh, I must be groomed, or it's so normal for me that I just can't see it, I must have Stockholm Syndrome, and a dozen other excuses. The truth is, you want there to be some scandal. That's why someone from Reddit created that AI account and tried to make people believe it was us. They can't stand to be wrong, so they gotta create more drama. Here's an idea you might want to try. Mind your own fucking business. And I already know the comeback for this one, so let me save you the trouble. You put yourself out there on the internet, so you have to expect criticism. Or we just want to make sure you're safe. I am safer with my family than I would be listening to any of you. So yeah, I'm safe. And yeah, we put ourselves out there on the internet. That does not give you the right to accuse my dad of things that are so terrible. Call him creepy looking all you want. Say he acts like a child. Say you don't like him. But don't come up with accusations that you can't back up with hard facts. Okay, I think that about covers this comment. I might see you again, I might not. I haven't decided yet. In the meantime, why don't you think about this? If everything you say was true, why hasn't anything been done yet with all the people making viral videos about us? How is my dad still free? The simple answer is, there is no proof. So in the court of the internet, it's okay to destroy an individual without proof? Sounds more like a witch hunt to me. I thought we had evolved past such juvenile behavior. Guess not.
The Getchels wrote a book that came out in the year of our Lord and Savior. The book is called Firebound Harmony. And this book is AI slop, fantasy, dragons, lesbianist love, and not even thinly veiled sexual innuendos of a freaky interspecies physical romance. I read the book, not all of it, but I read a good amount of it, and I feel like I got a good picture of what is going on. A central theme in the book is this bond, forming this deep bond. The first chapter of Firebound Harmony is called The Forbidden Bond. Okay. It's very clear that the book is written either mostly or entirely by AI. It's been put through AI checkers, and it is about 80% certain that this book is mostly AI. I'm just gonna quick read the dedication because I found this to be kind of interesting. So the book is dedicated first to our family. They're very about the family. Their support is what allowed us to write this book. Hunter, the son, offered a lot of ideas that turned out to be awesome. Teresa was always there to encourage us and support us. Nana, I'm guessing that is Patrick's mother, hi Gucci, has so much faith in us and was always there to support us as well. We would also like to thank all of our TikTok fans who show us love every day. Their support is what made us believe this was even possible. We have so many awesome fans that is impossible to name them all here. However, you all know who you are, so thank you from the bottom of our hearts. This book was not easy. There were many times when we just didn't know if we were going to be able to make it work. With the support from our family and fans, we were able to persevere. and finish our very first novel. We hope you enjoy our work and definitely look out for more books in this series. Chapter 1, The Forbidden Bond. I'm not going to be reading it verbatim, of course, but some themes that stuck out to me. The word bond was used over and over and over again. They talk about forming a true friendship. In order to form the bond, one must train a lot to form the bond. The destiny bond, so that this was something that was, predetermined to happen, some kind of spiritual element of the bond. The bond. It only occurs in young children, this is a direct quote, who happen to touch a dragon who is very much like them. Okay.
Bond between a human and dragon is an integral part of our story.
Oh, trust me, when the bond forms, you'll know it.
The feeling was like nothing she had ever experienced in her 17 years. It was as if Ariela was a part of her now, like she was inside her body. She could feel Aurelia's emotions. She loved her even more now. Ariela was now a part of her. They were fully connected. There was no distinction. Ariela was Jalen and Jalen was Ariela. "This feels amazing," she said out loud, not meaning to. "I feel connected with you now on a deeper level than I have ever been connected with anyone. That is the eternal bond we now share, dear Jalen," said Ariela, almost purring with delight because she felt it too.
Basically, in the book, there is a princess and her name is Jalen. Princess Jalen. And then there is a dragon. And the dragon's name is Ariela. Ariela is a dragon. And Ariela is a dragon lady. Okay, so there's a little gay in the mix.
Say, I'm part of the LGBTQ community, and this is my best friend, Valentina. She's an ally. Talk, Valentina. Ally.
Here's another direct quote from the book, Chapter 1, The Forbidden Bond. "I just mean, allowing you to touch me was a mistake. Anyway, I knew the bond had been formed." The bond had been formed. What do you think this means? It goes on in more AI slop terms to discuss the time the bond was exceptionally formed, if you will, where they describe it as it felt like Ariela was Jalen and Jalen was Ariela. They were so connected, they were purring with delight. Now, this brings us to another interesting point. There does seem to be a lot of obsession, fandom in the family with dragons. Now, I really personally cannot speak to what makes dragons so cool or appealing to the family, but in my literature brain, I think the fact that he is making this dragon character, have this bond with this young girl is possibly talking about forbidden loves. The dragon is big, mean, and scary, but the little girl wants to be loved and in connection and bonded with the dragon. Could this be a metaphor for their real life where the bond is formed between this scary monster person and the young girl? I don't know. The family also has a large, I don't want to call it array. They have a collection basically of different various reptiles. The reptiles live with the family in the motel, and they do actually live in plastic storage bins. I'm not making this up. I'll put a video in here showing one of the creatures living in the plastic Tupperware bin.
Get it?
This is not great. I don't know a lot about reptile or, keeping or pet keeping, but I don't think they're supposed to be in Tupperware bins, but that's just my opinion. Could part of the obsession the Getchell family has with reptiles be that they are the closest we would have on planet Earth to a dragon? I think maybe. The Getchells even had one business venture that did not really get anywhere called Getchell Family Reptiles, where Patrick was trying to get his own reptile store going. I don't think it ever took off, but they do have some YouTube videos showing them with the various reptiles that they have in the home. So in the Firebound Harmony book, the main character is named Ariela, and that is the dragon who has the bond form with the princess. And the AI corn model, why won't it let me stop? Ariela is the name of the dragon in the Firebound Harmony, and the AI corn model that is strongly tied to the Getchells is named Ariela, and they're spelled very similarly. So here's just a brief timeline overview of the Ariela drama. So Ariela first, it was shown to have a Reddit page in 2024. It looks like she had an Instagram that popped up around December 15th, 2024. Now, the first literotica story from the Ms. Ariela page came on December 6th, 2024. Tragically, that was my 33rd birthday. And Sarah posted the songs from Ariela where she and her family members were the only ones using the sound on TikTok on October 2024, and again on December 10th and December 16th, 2024.
Shadows take control, and silence is all I hear. Your voice so sweet makes my heart beat.
In her bio, the AI corn actress's name, Ariela, Ms. Ariela, she calls herself a gamer, an AI dreamer, whatever that means, and says that she loves Monster Hunter. Now, the Getchells are huge fans of the game called Monster Hunter. I don't really know anything about it. I guess they hunt monsters. So now we're gonna get into the breakdown of the Ms. Ariela story. And again, I just wanna put a huge trigger warning. This is disgusting. I read the whole story. There's only one story posted on the Ms. Ariela account. It was connected to the family when Reddit sleuths went and inputted several of Patrick's email addresses. It showed that the email addresses were already associated with accounts on the Lit Erotica page. Then, when it was discovered that the story was even out there, the whole Ms. Ariela account was then deleted. It looks awfully suspicious. If it's not yours and if your emails aren't associated with it, why is it all of a sudden getting deleted? The same thing happened when people initially discovered Ariela's song and Instagram page. It's odd. When you go, well, before it was deleted, she did have a link up, a link tree that would take you directly to the You Calm the Storm song, the same song that the family were the only people who had created TikToks with that sound. It's suspicious. In her bio on this page, she says her location is Rhode Island and that she is 21 years old. Now, the Getchells do not have history in Rhode Island, but like I was saying before, that whole New England area, these are very small states and they're very close together. So it would make sense that he based it off of someone who was living in New England. She also says in her bio that she has a fan view. Patrick also mentioned not knowing what fan view was in a TikTok. I will post that there.
More believable here that I went and created an AI account that posts NSFW content on FanView or OnlyFans or one of those sites. I don't know which one it was because now look at that crap.
I never knew what a fan view was. I knew what OnlyFans was because, you know, that's kind of common knowledge. Even if you don't look at that kind of stuff, you just would hear about it on social media. But that other site is much more specific. She also says that she has reptiles for pets, which is interesting because the Getchels obviously have a lot of reptiles as their pets and have quite a passion for them. The story kind of has an introduction, which is really a lot of AI slop, but I did find some interesting points that would lead me to believe that this indeed was written by either Patrick, Sarah, or possibly both of them, which would be absolutely foul. She starts off describing, saying that she was living in Rhode Island where schminschmest is legal. I looked it up and that is true. It is still frowned upon and considered wrong. Ew. She also goes on to say, what difference does it make if family members want to be sexually involved? This line really stood out to me because this is something I have heard Sarah in particular say in TikTok videos. She said, hell, nowadays it is acceptable to engage in sexual activity with multiple people that you barely know, but not the people you are closest to and have a bond of trust with. There's that term, bond again. They use it over and over and over.
Specific for the low intelligence people in the room. Pay attention because after this, we go back to posting our regular content and anyone who doesn't like it can touch grass. Will not keep addressing this shit. I am not in an inappropriate relationship with my dad. We are father and daughter and we are close. Nothing more. I wear a purity ring. I take it very seriously. There's a rumor going around that my dad and I created an AI that made spicy content on OnlyFans. Their whole basis for this accusation is that this AI posted a song. I saw it on TikTok and I liked it, so I made a lip sync. I also followed the account in case they posted more music I like. Excuse me for liking an AI song, but that does not prove that we were behind the account. Anyone who doesn't like it can touch grass. As for the spicy content they allegedly posted, we would never post content like that. Hell, we don't even know how to use AI like that. The most we've done with AI is get a few name ideas for characters in our book.
Seeing some similarities between that piece of AI slop literature and this other type. A big theme in the Firebound Harmony is about this bond that is formed. It felt like you were inside me and it felt like we were one.
Oh, trust me, when the bond forms, you'll know it.
In the Literotica, it does talk about closeness like that as well. And it's just as terrible as you can imagine. Another quote, it did take some convincing due to the way society views schmest. Ew. She also says that, or whoever is writing this, I'm using she, her, just because it is from the perspective of Ms. Ariela, Ariela, whatever, describing that she comes from a small town near the coast of Rhode Island. So again, this small town, this small New England area, this is where the family is from. She goes on to say, I have always been a daddy's girl. And this is a huge thing that Sarah and Patrick drone on and on about. What makes it weird is the fact that she is 23 years old. She's not a child. She's an adult woman. Calls her father daddy. Ew. The story goes on to say, when I was 15, my mom moved us to Georgia. This sort of aligns with a similar timeline if we're looking at this from the lens of the Getchels. So Sarah would have been around 12 or 13 years old when they moved from the New England area down to Texas. Now, Texas and Georgia aren't next door to each other, but they are both in the south of the United States. It also goes on to say, Dad's job kept him out late, so I was alone a lot. So I kept the house clean and played lots of Monster Hunter. Again, this points to it being the Getchels. They are obsessed with Monster Hunter.
Song to get to know about me. I'll start with my name, my age, my height, my gender identity, and my favorite game.
The story goes on about how she goes to sleep not wearing any clothes, and there's a lot of mention about this, says that this was accepted in our family. We believe that the body is beautiful. That sounds well and good, but not in this context and not with these people. The way the story is written, and again, this is horrifying, and I would not recommend reading it. It was a terrible day for me to have vision. It's a terrible day for me to be literate yet again, reading this and having to like mentally process it. The way it is written to me does not sound like it would be written by a woman. The way things are described, it sounds like it's being written by the most mediocre male lover you could ever want. A nasty freak is who wrote this, in my humble opinion. Another quote that I kind of stood out to me, I couldn't help the flirty tone. And for thinking about this as Patrick writing this or Sarah writing this, there have been many instances caught on camera where the dynamic between Patrick and Sarah is giving off more flirtatious energy than fatherly, daughterly, familial vibes, if you will. I think that's kind of when everyone started to have their red flag warning lights go on with this content family, was seeing just their day-to-day interactions and the lack of boundaries and the way too closeness and touchy-feely intimacy that they both had with each other.
Hello everyone, I'm Sarah and this is my dad Patrick.
We love to dance together.
And lip sync.
And get a little crazy sometimes.
Well, you do that normally.
You call me crazy?
If the shoe fits.
I'm Patrick.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Dream Team. We are the dad and daughter Dream Team on TikTok. We do
dance.
Anyway, I'm not saying that there's not healthy boundaries, okay? Obviously there's certain things that there's boundaries. There's really not any like major boundaries in our relationship because we trust each other and we're completely comfortable with each other. She knows I would never do anything to hurt her or anything, I don't want to say sexual because but anything over the line.
I am not blaming Sarah. Sarah is a victim. She has likely been groomed since a very young age to think that that level of closeness, that level of touching, that lack of boundaries is normal. It's not. But she is in a cycle of abuse. She's been groomed. She's in an abusive relationship, abusive dynamic with the family. Again, the story goes on to just be absolutely terrible. It talks about wouldn't be easy to convince him. I knew he would resist. Approach this situation carefully. To me, this sounds like freaking grooming and it's disgusting. It also low-key sounds like assault. when you're saying someone would resist. And I hate that. There's a lot more mentions of daddy. Daddy is all daddy, and that's disgusting. But there are also a couple of moments where she says things like, I think I want more. I need more. This has been something that Sarah has said on camera, and I'll put that clip in right now.
Oh, yeah, right there. There she is.
Hello.
This is my daughter, Sarah.
Hi.
Now, Sarah is going to be a big part of Horrified Gaming, and so I wanted to introduce her. She's always wanted to be on YouTube, so now's her chance, and that's all you get.
No, it's not. I want more.
Yeah,
On my own.
No, not yet. So
it also goes on to say, you need to find a guy who can give you a family. The risk of birth defects is too high with close relations. It may not be illegal, but it is a moral gray area. A moral gray area? A moral gray area is like, what kind of, like, should you be pulling out these weeds that are good for this one creature but not for another? I mean, that's like a moral gray area. Being with your freaking family member is not a moral gray area, even if it's a fantasy. It's 2025. I'm bringing back kink shaming. Some of you need to be shamed. Ugh. It's not okay to the one man I trust. There's this big thing with the trust again. And Sarah has said, I only trust anyone but my family. Like, I trust my dad the most. We have 100% trust in each other. It goes on, good morning, teddy bear. There's this creepy clip.
Well, I am your cuddle bear.
Yes.
So I'm sure you'll want to cuddle me.
And I'll be standing in the back with a ladybug suit on.
You can't. Never mind. I'll shut my mouth.
Like, what does that even?
The horrible story ends by saying, we spent the rest of the day at a local hiking trail, enjoying each other's company. The family, if they're not inside the one-room motel with the Tupperware lizards, is out at the local hiking trail making weird content, and the people of Dallas-Fort Worth area are probably traumatized secondhand just by being around it.
8 marks 1 year since our first book signing.
Wondering where we're at, and I'm sorry.
Thank God we are getting close to the end of this, because it's truly another terrible day to be literate and talking about these people. But I will say, this is a really important subject, because unfortunately this is way more common than people would think, and people would care to think, because this is about the worst of the worst as you can get. But what is done in the shadows needs to be put into the light. And it has been way too long that children are getting abused, and this just gets swept under the rug, whether it's insular with families or large scale like in Hollywood, anything. This is something that needs to be called out. It's not okay, and it's time for these people to be held accountable. Ultimately, I really hope that Teresa, Sarah, and Hunter can get out of this toxic situation. I hope that they can break the cycle of abuse. I hope and I pray that they can find healing. And I pray that none of this has actually happened, that this is all just the dad's weird fantasy, but there's too many similarities. There's too many red flags that multiple people are seeing. We can't all be so delulu to be just thinking this. When you see something, you must say something. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm speaking out on this. At the end of the day, I really hope that this video and my continued videos, because I'm not gonna stop until we get some kind of justice. At the end of the day, I hope that there are consequences for anyone who's harming their children, anyone who is harming their family members in this disgusting and depraved way. I understand that people's cultural backgrounds, experiences, how they were raised, and what those dynamics can look like to come together to create people that abuse and hurt other people. However, just because of your life circumstances, how you started out on life, it does not need to steer the entire direction of your life. I was a victim of abuse myself. I could have gone on and been a shitty person or, hurt other people. But instead, I've dedicated my life to serving others through social services, through spiritual means. That is what I hope for you, Sarah, Teresa, and Hunter, that you can see more clearly and find your way out.